What's that? The resolution.
Okay, D, discussion by council, board on action on possible gold forest acquisition.
Do a quick rundown in here. The general idea on April 4th was to get a feeling from the town council as to whether 4 people supported the concept of going forward with gold forest acquisition, namely the 124-acre lot for $1.6 million. That's what was on the table. We never got to it on April 4th. On April 11th, the vote was to do an appraisal first. On April 18th, the item was to reconsider the appraisal, but there was a lot of other discussion, slightly off topic, and now we're here to sort of summarize it. One of the issues was to get wetlands delineation for access along the side of the property. I sent by email to the maps. You'd probably be better off with a printed map. Bobby did this. It was a little tough because some of this stuff has been
Going to pass these out and start.
merged. Yes, please. There was no wetlands delineation or guarantees provided for this meeting. However, the agent, real estate agent, said that they would provide an easement through 123 Douglas, which we discussed before. The easement would go fairly close to the house. But the more important issue right here is that this year we are in the recreation land acquisition cycle, which means that this property would have to be used for recreation, for playing fields. And I said that the minimum you could do was perhaps have a large unmarked frisbee field, but the point is that recreation land requires a higher higher cost maintenance plan than does open space. And this is ideal open space land. That will be in next year's cycle. So we also have the issue of the house that provides access to Pacheco Park is up for sale, and we need that entrance and exit both for Pacheco Park and for the coming
Is this
national
on
park.
the agenda, the Pacheco Park issue?
No, I'm trying to explain the larger issue of relative performance of grants before the DEM, and this regards gold property. If you, and we should go in with Pacheco as the first priority, that would leave gold as the second priority, and make it highly unlikely that we would ever get it. So these things combined is kind of leading you to the point that we should focus on Pacheco. Ray and I are going to work on that tomorrow, that grant application. And if we just have that one small one, we don't need to go out to anybody else. But the issue here is that Pacheco Park, Gold Forest, has not provided, nor does it fit in the sequence that we would need to follow with any high likelihood of getting a grant. So I'll take any questions.
What, for the acquisition of Pacheco Park, what are we looking for as a ballpark figure?
It's not on the agenda.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Don't even
No,
go there.
I'm sorry. No,
I
you're right.
I don't discuss that,
It's all right.
except its relative position versus Gold Forest, and what that implication is for the Gold Forest property.
Okay, all right.
So that's just a summary. If you want to continue the discussion, I'd be glad to do it, or if you just want to wait for next year, I'd be glad to do that too.
So before us tonight is the gold property, right? That's
All
what
right.
we're gonna be discussing the gold property this evening.
Right.
Mr. Erickson, you need some statements. So there was no wetland delineation, but the realtor's gonna try to give that to us. Then you spoke about an easement through 123 Douglas. Are you referring to Route 7?
Route 7.
Okay.
On the map that you
Is
have
it
there,
1024?
it's 1024, right.
Okay. And there's a home there.
Yes,
Is that
the
right?
location of the easement to the home would be fairly close. It is possible that you could go up the southwest side of the house property, but they
I
do
don't
not
think that
have
was
the
ever an
delineation
option.
provided.
Okay.
So is your recommendation basically put this on the back burner, use it as open space in the future, and utilize,
Go for the grant next year. It's been on the market for 8 years.
it's not moving anytime soon? Is that, I mean, basically, I mean, you're right, if that's gonna have to be turned into recreational use,
Yes,
then there's cost associated with making it
right,
accessible for recreational use.
right.
Whereas the other issue that we were discussing, or we can't discuss, is in regards to recreational use.
Right.
I'll make a motion to withdraw the work we've done on the gold property thus far.
I just need some clarification.
Can I just ask a question first? Mr. Erickson, last meeting, I specifically asked you if this property's been on the market the whole time, and you said no. And now you just said
It
it's
has
been
been on and off the market. He has withdrawn it for small periods of time and then put it back on. It has not been continuously on, but it has been on since the town unbought it.
If I may ask for clarification.
Yes.
Mr. Erickson, I have your memo here, which is Monday, March 28th. Your last sentence, if there's no clear majority, the town should not waste time, money, and credibility pursuing the grant. Well, you had a clear, you had unanimous vote to pursue it, and now
No, that was,
those...
go ahead, and I'll respond.
Well, I just want to make sure, because first we approved an appraisal, and I was under the assumption, I think some of my colleagues may have been under the assumption that you were going to write the grant. So we came in with the appraisal, and then in the second meeting, we heard that, no, we had to apply for a grant, and then you backed away from the appraisal, said we need to hire a grant writer. So my concern is the town squandering credibility in the future because of our actions?
I don't understand quite what that means.
I don't know how else to articulate it.
But the issue is, the appraisal was not necessary to actually make the application. So we spent some time quickly going into an appraisal, which puzzled me, and then I started looking into that and got the notice that it was back on for reconsideration. I think if we don't apply, we won't have any credibility issue. If we did apply and there wasn't a majority, a clear majority, to actually use it and purchase it, then we would have a problem with credibility. We have a good alternative that should be a first priority, so this would be a second priority. But I think the part that puzzled me is why you voted an appraisal so quickly. I mean, we didn't discuss it.
Well, we did actually. And that's one thing I wanted to bring up. On the 4/11/16 meeting, when the first discussion of the acquisition of the gold property came up, at the 10:02 mark of video 4, you were the one that recommended doing the appraisal before putting in an application. And then Councilman Zawinski asked about it and asked if it would hold up and affect the process, and you stated no at the 1821 mark. And then you said if we, Councilman Zawinski again at the 1828 mark, asked if it would be more favorable if we went to the grant first, and you said no because the EM wouldn't take us seriously if we didn't get in front of it. And then in the last meeting, you said that we discussed it too quickly and we never talked about the grant writer. It was a 20-minute discussion between council and yourself But it was all about an appraisal, it has nothing to do about the grant writing.
I believe the appraisal came up as a proposal before I responded to that. In other words, you can do an appraisal, it's just not gonna get you anything.
But at no point did you mention that we needed a grant in that 20 minutes of the first meeting.
You need to make a grant proposal, the question was whether we needed a grant writer. The bottom line
So
is,
the first meeting, we asked, you suggested we go for an appraisal. I said, okay, and this will help with the process. Then the second meeting, we turned around, and then vacillated, no, we need to do the grant writer first. To me, that didn't make sense. Why would we not have an appraisal if we were gonna apply for a grant?
because the appraisal isn't necessary to apply for the grant. I mean, I may have been confused by the initial concept of I'm willing to support an appraisal. But the bottom line is, the appraisal isn't gonna get you anywhere. And at this point, when you look at all the possibilities of a higher priority submission, it doesn't make sense to do this, particularly when, I didn't see 4 hands going up and saying, this is a great idea.
Well, you got unanimous saying it was a great idea.
No, unanimous for the appraisal.
I have a question. The reason why the appraisal, because how do we know this land is actually worth 1.6 million unless we do get it appraised? Maybe the appraisal's gonna say it's only worth 800,000.
Or as Mike Rappaport said, $400,000,
Oh,
which is for farm and open space. You can do that, you can actually make the application before you get the appraisal. I mean, the reality here is the application has a very low chance of approval if we have a higher priority application.
All right. Is there any further discussion?
Anybody in the audience?
Mr. Solis?
And I would just ask that you make a motion to extend the meeting. It's
Make a motion to extend the meeting to 10:15.
Chair seconds. Further discussion? Madam Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Ms. Alves? Yes. Mr. Solly?
Yes.
Mr. Zalinski?
Yes.
Mr. Boucher?
Yes.
Paul Summers, representing the Conservation Commission. I came here thinking that I wanted to promote the purchase of the gold property, and I do because the Conservation Commission stands for open space, if you will. Our mission statement is that we should work to preserve and protect natural resources. We supported the purchase of the gold property in '08, and we did an evaluation at that time. I have a copy of it here. It's called Critical Lands Prioritization, say that one 3 times fast, scoring comparison. It scored in biodiversity components 93%, cultural 22%, farmland components 37%, and groundwater components 68%. So certainly we would want this land as open space, but open space can be recreation of 2 different types. It could be passive recreation or active recreation. And what Mr. Ericson just said, if you were to purchase this land with this grant that's available now, it would have to be active recreation. And I can't say that the Conservation Commission would support that. We would want it strictly passive recreation because we feel it's too valuable, and I hope this isn't politically incorrect, but to put ball fields on it, we would want to preserve it in its natural state. But there's another way to look at this, I think. There was an article in the paper last week from Smithfield has achieved their goal of conservation land. And it said it reached their 15%, which was their goal. 15% of the land in Smithfield is conservation land. So I thought it'd be a good idea to do a little research to see how we compare and how other towns in northern Rhode Island compare. So Smithfield has 2,900 acres in conservation. Open space. Open space is the correct term. Lincoln, 3,000 acres which is 25% of their land area. Burrowville has 7,400 acres, although some of that is management areas, Buck Hill and Blackhawk. So it's a lot of acreage, but it's 24.5% of their land area. North Smithfield, according to our comp plan from '07, says we have 1,494 acres. Town encompasses 15,600 acres total. That's 10%, just under 10%. That's pretty poor compared to the other towns in the area. Now, I know there's been a couple of other recent acquisitions, so the 1,494 is actually closer to 1,640, because the land trust has acquired another 60 acres since that comp plan had those numbers. And the Conservation Commission has acquired 2 areas, one of 10 acres and one of 70, for a total of 80, which we got gifted to the town with the support of Mr. Zolinsky, Mr. Ericson, and Mrs. Hamilton. Those were freebies, 80 acres for Zippo. So, now we have 1,640 acres. However, that's not all accessible to the public. When you break it down, you have to take away Rhode Island development rights of over 100 acres, which is not accessible. Woonsocket owns a lot of land around the reservoir. It's not Smithfield land, but they own it. It's not accessible. 596 acres. They've got Ironwood's driving range here as open space, 17 acres. Anyway, you take away all the no public access, and you're down to maybe 700 acres. So that's all we have in this town, public recreation, other than ball fields. I'm talking passive recreation, hiking, bird watching, fishing, just enjoying nature, wildlife observation. I think that's a pretty poor record, especially compared to the neighboring towns with anywhere from 2,900 to 7,400 acres. And I would like to see the gold property purchased, but only if it's going to be for passive recreation and kept in its natural state because of the biodiversity and the value of the aquifer that's there. But I have some other information here that I think would be pertinent. We were talking about the price of the property. Is it worth $1.6 million? Well, $1.2 million sounds a lot better with the $400,000 state grant, but as I said, that would come with strings attached, which the Conservation Commission would not be amenable to. However, Smithfield recently purchased 3 parcels totaling 93 acres. They purchased it as conservation easement, which means it's still in private hands. It's just not going to be developed. No public access. For those 3 parcels totaling 93 acres, they paid $910,000. That's $9,800 an acre. Lincoln recently bought 48 acres abutting the Handy Pond Reserve. For the 48 acres, they paid $840,000. That's $17,500 an acre. So even if we were to buy the gold property for the full price of $1.6 million, it's $12,900 an acre, which falls much lower than Lincoln just paid for 48 acres. So I don't know, I'm not an appraiser. I don't know if it's worth $1.6 million, but in the comparison here, you can see it's in the ballpark of what other towns have paid for open space. And in one case, it doesn't even have public access. Maybe it would be best, as Mr. Ericson says, wait till next year, try to get the $400,000 grant, whatever might be available next year, to bring the price down to something that's more amenable, and keep it as space, green space, not just open space, but green space for passive recreation and enjoyment of our citizens. And that's what the Conservation Commission would prefer. And in pursuing this, now, next month, next year, we would like to be involved. If we can be of any assistance we're ready and willing to work with you, to do whatever we have to do, to try to make this happen, or try to find some other parcels that we can get up from this 10% somewhere nearer to our neighbors at 15 and 25%. We've got a lot of land out there. There's got to be something available that we can get our hands on for a reasonable price. Anyway, if you have any questions, I'll try to answer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So the bottom line is, if you don't do anything, that resolves the issue. If you decide you want to forego the grant application because it really is not, has a very low probability of getting funded relative to cost, you could consider it for the 1.6 million. Or you could recommend it to the next town council. Any preference? By the way, this map shows all the parcels that were acquired last time. See that? And it was a little tricky because some of them have been combined since 2008. Anyway,
So, Mr. President, Mr. Erickson, so when, I think the last time we met, we were going to go out to get a grant writer. That hasn't happened. We have not committed ourselves to a grant writer.
no, town administrator talked to me about it and said she didn't think it was worth pursuing any further. She looked at the tape from the last meeting, and I have to agree, unless you want to pay 1.6, I think your chances of getting the grant are approaching zero.
Okay, well, part of me's conflicted. I'm glad the town administrators stepped in and superseded what the council wanted to do. Interesting chain of events. So, all right, so we don't have any money committed to an appraising or a grant writer, correct? So there's nothing to do at this point.
There's nothing to do at this point. I don't recall if you formally withdrew the $5,000 or reconsidered it. They did, okay, so that you're fine. If you don't do anything, go back to
I
square
think
one.
we're waiting for a grant writer review, we're going to look at, so I guess we're all set then. Right, Jason, no money was being committed?
No money's committed.
But Jason, don't we have 5,000 in the line for grant writer?
2,000.
2,000? So we can't get a grant writer for the other issue?
Well, that's a relatively simple one. So all I need is the price for the property.
Who would write it?
I would write it and Ray would help me with the information.
What's up? Questions, Mr. President?
The only question I have is that basically there are other higher priorities for the town, so.
In this round
In
of
this
application,
particular time,
in this application round, yes.
so.
For active recreation.
Yes.
We didn't know that when we started this back in April.
So I guess the motion would be to,
You don't need a motion.
you know, your motion.
Let's go on to the next one.
Okay, we have nothing to do on that, we're all set?
Okay, discussion by council, vote other action on contract increase, request for professional engineering services for Rhode Island Department of Environmental Management, Rhode Island PDES small MS4.
Yeah, just MS4, leave the outfill. MS4 in your reports. That's still negotiation. I expect it to be back for the next meeting.
Okay, so at this current time, you want to continue this till
Yes.
the next, meeting? Motion to continue this to the May 16th meeting?
Yep.
Motion by the chair, second by Councilman Sully and Zawinski to continue this. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Sal's? Yes. Mr. Solly?
Yes.
Mr. Zelinski?
Yes.
Mr. Boucher?
Yes.
3 minutes, Mr. President, what can we do?
Well, we're gonna skip the,
Okay.
and also skip B,
No, we have time to do that.
discussion to revote on second reading ordinances, 2-2 town vehicles.
What do we have to do? We're gonna revote for a reason?
I don't know.
Yes.
How do you get on
Mr.
here?
President, it's on here because I did not advertise it in the newspaper. Once it
Oh, so
was
we can
approved.
vote to approve it this evening?
Mr. Igliozzi's suggestion that we just revote it.
To approve, to accept it. That's a motion.
She's
sorry.
gonna advertise.
Yeah.
She's gonna advertise.
To advertise, okay, motion by Councilman Zawinski, second by Councilman Solly, on motion to re-advertise. Any further?
Not to be advertised, just to prove, she'll be advertised.
Just approve.
Okay, motion to approve. Is there any further discussion, Madam Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Ellis? Mr. Solly?
Yes.
Mr. Zelinski?
Yes.
Mr. Boucher?
Yes. Any discussion by council on on fourth quarter budget authorization, Mr. Palmer?
Thank you, Mr. President. The reason this item is on the council is if you look at the Charter, Article 8, Section 8, Budgetary Control, in the first 3 quarters of the year, the administration and I guess myself under her tutelage is allowed to move items within departments that we see budget overages and underages in order to offset them. The fourth quarter, however, all budget appropriations per this Section 8 are the responsibility of the town council. What I have is, I provided a list, or actually the third quarter budget report. I have 8 items that need to be addressed on here as far as for additional funding, and that funding would come from the council's allowing the funding or not. So if we go to page 5, we'll get to the first item. And the first item is audio-visual. What's left in our budget is for 3 meetings a month. Currently, there are 6 meetings a month with special meetings. We're looking for an additional $1,125 for the balance of the year to fund the audio-visual line item. So what I have done is provided a source of funds to myself, but ultimately that would be the council's choice of where it comes from. Being that we have not staffed the grant writer, and the answer I just heard about potentially not staffing the grant writer, because it can be done in-house, I believe we could take the audio-visual right from the grant writer, so it would be no effect on anything.
Town needs $1,100, Mr. Palmer.
$1,125.
$1,125.
1125.
I'll make that motion.
Chair seconds.
Okay. On page 10, the tax assessor had never been charged gas historically. Recently, when we've done the recap of the 2-222, and we properly charge all departments for the gas, now that it's being tracked through finance, we have to create a line item for gas for the assessor's vehicle. We are requesting $150 between now and the balance of the year for all fuel for the assessor.
So moved.
Okay. The third item is on
Hang on,
page...
we gotta vote.
I need to vote first.
Oh, individually, I'm sorry.
Yeah, because we're already out of time. I'm trying to get us as many in as we
Sorry,
can.
okay. Well,
I made a motion to approve that.
Second by the chair.
Nobody voted on, you didn't vote on the first one.
We didn't?
No.
Oh, well, let's go back to that motion for the videographer. Make a motion to approve that. In the amount of?
1125.
1125.
Yep.
Okay, motion by Councilman Zawinski, second by the chair. Any further discussion? If not, Madam Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Ms. Alves?
Yes.
Mr. Solly?
Yes.
Mr. Zelinski?
Yes.
Mr. Boucher?
Yes. Now, for fuel,
Second item was $150 for tax assessor fuel.
So moved.
second by the chair, and Councilman Sullivan. Any further discussion, Madam Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Ms. Alves?
Yes.
Mr. Solly?
Yes.
Mr. Zelinski?
Yes.
Mr. Boucher?
Yes.
Okay, the third item I have is for ACA fees for our payroll service company. In the prior years, this cost was buried in health buyback because when the
What page?
collective, page 11.
Thank you.
It's halfway down the page in the middle. The prior finance department never properly budgeted for ACA fees. They took it out of a cost savings from healthcare buyback. So in preparing the budget this year, ACA fees were not included. When you look at the review, we're already over payroll service charges for the ACA fees. We are requesting $8,405 for the balance of the payroll service charges to finish the year off. And that item would come from the item 2 above it, professional services. So it'd be just a move in the department from one line that has no earmarked spending from it to another line that does.
Sorry, did you say 11 of 28?
Page 11, yes. It's payroll service charges. It's maybe 7 up from the bottom. Budgeted at $10,077.
Got it, okay, yeah,
Okay,
got it,
okay.
yeah.
Payroll service charges, okay.
Would come from the
11 up. Unless your sheet's printing differently. Could be, right?
Mine's
Got
9.
it.
This is coming from the computer maintenance?
Professional services.
Yeah, professional services
Okay, okay.
is a line item that hasn't been expended in 3 years. It's been kept in case the budget committee recommends professional services, being that none between now and year end seem to be needed. And next year, the only one that's needed is for the OPEB valuation. That's why I would move from one line to the other right in the department.
Can we have a motion to appropriate $8,405 from the professional services account to the payroll service charges account? Is that correct?
Yes.
Do I have a second?
second.
Motion by the chair, second by Councilman Sullivan. Is there any further discussion?
Yeah, so it's gonna bring us to $18,500, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, we have motion and a second. Any other discussions? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Ms. Alves? Yes. Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mr. Zalinski?
Yes.
Mr. Boucher?
Yes.
President, I need a motion to extend, if you want to extend.
Let's just, can we make a motion to finish this one item?
Yes.
I make a motion for 5 more minutes.
Sure, won't even take that.
10:25, we're out of here.
Yep, yep. The next item I
Oh, you're
have,
gonna vote?
I'll second.
Motion by Councilman Lucas, second by Councilman Sullivan. Further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're extended.
sorry, the next item that I have is for building repairs for the town hall. There has never been a line item.
What page is that?
I'm sorry, it's page 14.
Okay, thank you.
It's currently, I mean, if you want the explanation,
Yeah, we got 5 minutes.
it's never been budgeted for building repairs for town hall. So what happens when the sink backs up or something happens? Currently, those costs have no home to go to. So they get buried in office supplies. Rather than putting in office supplies incorrectly, I would like to appropriate what I expect that cost to be, which is about $1,600 this year. So we're looking for a $1,600 line item for Memorial Town Hall building repairs.
I just didn't like your analogy, if the sink got back up. Couldn't somebody, a bad analogy.
I'm
Take a
sorry.
plunger and plunge it,
Well-
16, I know, I just didn't.
I'll use the example that really happened. The basement flooded. It was a claim to our insurance. We had to pay a $2,500 deductible.
Now that makes more sense.
Blew us out of the water.
Okay.
So that's the fact of what happened for me to suggest it.
Okay.
I was thinking something that might be understood. So that item's, we're asking for $1,600 for that. Obviously, the balance will be eaten by the office supply
And
line.
where did you come from? Office supplies?
It's, yeah, it's,
Okay, we have a motion to,
I might have wrote, it's on page 13, I'm sorry, I wrote the wrong page.
It's 13?
It's 8 down, or 7 down from the top, the bottom line item in the town hall budget, which is over by 1558, if you can see it. We don't expect any more issues this year of flooding, so hopefully there is no more.
so we have a motion to move $1,500, $1,600 from office supplies to a town hall memorial.
I'm gonna create a building repair account, basically.
Okay, to that account of $1,600. Do I have a second?
Just a second. So if we're on page 13 of 28,
Yes.
and you said how many down from, does your key account start with the first description as postage?
No, mine has FICA first and then postage.
Okay.
So my
Six.
report's off, it's off to yours then. I just printed this today from our
So
system.
the one that's a credit of 1558.
Correct. Yeah, the office supply line item that has that negative balance to the right.
You see it, Paul?
No, I do not, that's my problem.
It's over, it's,
As long as somebody sees it, my
Yes,
page,
yes.
my, both the pages are up, I'm okay, as long as you can see it. Page 13, 20, yeah, so let's take it out of here, Got it. Thanks. All right, out of rotation. I'm okay, thanks, Council.
Sure.
okay, so we have a motion, for office supplies to new account, town hall repairs.
Second.
Motion by the chair, second by Councilman Sullivan. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Ms. Alves? Mr. Solly?
Yes.
Mr. Zalinski?
Yes.
Mr. Ruda?
Yes.
The next item I have is under plant operations on page 14. The water cost increase from Woonsocket was not budgeted for. We're requesting an additional $1,600 to cover increased water costs. They budgeted the same rate from 15 to 16, and the rates went up.
And that's gonna be coming from which account?
Ultimately, that's actually going to come from an unexpended planning equipment account, which has 6770 in it. So all of these other little ones are going to be covered by that. Again, I'm trying not to touch any contingency. It should come from all unexpended other line items within our budget.
Based on a rate increase from the city of Woonsocket.
Correct, that's what passed through to us is. Well, that's why the cost is over this year.
Okay, motion to approve 1,600 to this,
It's water, sewer, all plants is the line item.
okay, water sewer plants, okay. And that's gonna be taken from the planning equipment account. There's a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
Second, I'm sorry.
Okay, seconded by Councilwoman Alves. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Ms. Alves? Yes. Mr. Solly?
Yes.
Mr. Zalinski?
No,
Mr. Boucher?
Yes.
The next item I have is for the inspection department on page 20. This is for the part-time zoning inspector line. Currently, we are right at budget, and after Mr. Johnson stepped down, we had an ad in the paper for a part-time replacement, but without any funding in the budget for that, it's hard to staff a position without any money to it. So based on a $15 an hour for the last 6 payrolls, part-time 38 hours per payroll, we are looking for $3,400 for the part-time zoning inspector.
I believe the reason you're in out of money is because we didn't budget for that many hours. Didn't we only budget for 10 hours per
Well, that's a problem because certain part-time positions get budgeted on hours and certain get budgeted on a dollar figure. This particular one was budgeted on just a dollar figure, not an actual rate.
It was budgeted for 10 hours,
Okay.
so that's why you're in out of money, because apparently the person works more than 10 hours.
Okay.
So I'm not going to fund it.
Okay.
Where would this money come from, Jason? The fund- the fund?
Then that would also come from the planning equipment unexpended line item. I tried to balance off all the accounts from another spot that didn't need it, that doesn't affect any of the council contingencies.
So currently, we have no inspector?
Now, there's no staff position at the moment.
You have an inspector, you don't have a part-time.
I'm sorry, I was,
can I ask a question? I'm certainly not an accountant, but if we look at personnel salary, original budget, 31,326, we go across
yeah.
year to date, 37,839?
Yeah, There's a settlement that's being charged there that hasn't been pulled out of there yet for accounting purposes. So it looks over, but it's not after that adjustment gets made.
Thank you, because that had me a little concerned too.
No,
If they had certain budgeted hours that were,
Why
No, I
would the,
got you.
why would the settlement be in there?
Because that's the home department that that person worked in.
But it wasn't more of a buyout of vacation and personal time?
Now, they were actually paid 1 year salary. So it's just being charged that way and quarterly. And I actually haven't done it yet because I've been quite busy. I make the reclass out of there against the contingency where the vote took place to pay for that. I just haven't gotten to that entry yet.
So we have basically two months left in the budget, in the cycle,
for assistant, for part-time zoning
but there's
official.
no official.
But we've already spent all the money.
Right. Because that position at budget time was tried to be put into a full-time position and we voted against it. So throughout the year, the hours have been expended, but we don't have the
Right.
money.
So someone wasn't watching the hours, or some, whatever. So I don't hear a motion, Mr. President, so I think it's gonna die.
I'll make a motion to approve $3,400. Because he's taking out a lot of nice unexpected funds. In fact, that we're almost at the end of the fiscal year. And I'm sure activity will pick up if the weather gets better.
Look, we even have a part-time zoning official.
No, but there's an ad in the paper to fill one, and that will not happen without a line item to charge them to.
So there's a motion by the chair. Do I have a second? Going once. Going twice. Next item.
The last item I have is for Highway Department on page 22. This item is a catch basin cleaning item that was signed by Mr. Pendergast. There is no current budget allotment for the catch basin cleaning, but due to the MS4 contract, I guess severity of where we stand with that and what our reaction to the state was, if we didn't show them any good faith effort on cleaning catch basins, we were going to start to be fined for not showing that effort. This item is just to move from road repairs, an unexpended amount of $21,000 to catch basin cleaning for a previously paid invoice to Dennis Diffley.
So we had a budget of $3,000 for catch basin expenses?
No, it's a combination of that plus catch basin truck rental, which is account 629. So the accounts are, the expenditures are being put in two different places.
So a total of $33,000.
Correct.
Now, how much more do you need so we can get catch basins cleaned and paid for?
Well,
Not you personally, what does the town need?
all we need to do is move from one line item in highway to where that was charged. So we don't need any extra money. We're just taking from one to give to the other. And it's already happened. The purchase has already been made by the Public Works Department, so it's.
Plus, did we purchase a catch basin truck?
Yeah, but what happened is, having the truck come in 7 months isn't a good enough effort for DEM, so we had to show good faith that we were going out and cleaning. What Highway did was send out the old truck and a borrowed truck from Burrowville to get that process going.
Okay.
They got through a few of them, realized it was a waste of time, decided to contract with Diffley to show the good faith that we're trying. DEM is off our backs for that because of that effort, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're moving what, I'm sorry?
We're moving 21,000 from road repairs to catch basin.
Okay, motion to approve,
Motion.
second by the chair. Any further discussion? Madam Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Ms. Alves?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mr. Zalinski?
Yes.
Mr. Boucher?
Yes.
Mr. President, motion to adjourn, please.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Zawinski, second by Councilman Sawyer to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye.